dry bones, hear the word of the Most High. When I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up from your graves, I will put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I will place you in your own land. The raising up of the nation of Israel will be an extraordinary event that will shock the world and bring glory to the Most High Yah. The dry bones will live again. In this session, we're taking another look at the vision of the dry bones in Ezekiel 37. The Most High told the prophet that the bones in the valley represented the whole house of Israel. So this vision symbolizes the raising to life of the nation of Israel, not all nations. When Ezekiel saw the bones in the open valley, he noticed that they were very dry, which is an indication of them being in that condition for a long time. And the Most High asked him, "Son of man, can these bones live?" Ezekiel responded by saying, "O Most High Yah, you know." So it seemed like all hope was lost for these scattered dry bones. This is evident because the bones said, "Our bones are dried up and our hope is lost. We are indeed cut off." But this vision was to be symbolic of the nation's resurrection and eventual return from captivity. Now let's dig a little deeper to see the significance of the bones. We'll look at Genesis 2:21 through 23. And the Most High Yah caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which the Most High Yah had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Adam would later say, "She is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of the man." So initially, Adam was made from the dust of the earth, dirt. Yah used just one of his bones to form the woman. Where did the flesh come from? Where did the breath come from to give her life? So when we think about the dry bones in Ezekiel 37, we see that this happened before. What happens in Ezekiel happened in the beginning. Words were spoken to create the elements to make man. And he made them male and female. And the life-giving spirit gave them life. Now let's look at this article. It's called "Scientists Want to Resurrect the Woolly Mammoth." They just got $15 million to do it. Now this may be a possible reason why Ezekiel was told to prophesy to the bones. Did you know that bones contain what is needed to regenerate a human body? It says bringing extinct creatures back to life is the lifeblood of science fiction. At its most tantalizing, think Jurassic Park and its stable of dinosaurs. Advances in genetics, however, are making resurrecting lost animals a tangible prospect. Scientists have already cloned endangered animals and can sequence DNA extracted from the bones and carcasses of long dead, extinct animals. So it says geneticists led by Harvard Medical School's George Church aim to bring the woolly mammoth, which disappeared 4,000 years ago, back to life, imagining a future where the tusked Ice Age giant is restored to its natural habitat. Now, scientists are resurrecting things. They've been doing this for quite some time, and we know this through cloning. But where do you think they're getting this knowledge from? From the rulers of darkness in high places, spiritual wickedness. But guess what? They're only playing catch up. They're still light years behind. Let's look at another source from ArmstrongInstitute.org. It says science has discovered a trait unique to ribs. They actually regenerate. It says scientists have discovered that if the membrane covering the rib is left in place, then the bone will actually regrow inside of it. Much of the knowledge on this subject has only emerged over the last few years. The rib is the only known bone to do this. Bone from the rib cage is used by doctors to reconstruct damaged bone tissue in other parts of the body. One could say that with the use of rib bone in reconstructive surgery, doctors are unwittingly replicating Genesis 2, using a rib to create, or rather complete, a human being. And that may explain why the Creator only needed a rib from Adam. It says the Bible continually affirms the perfection of God's creation. Did God thus intend for Adam to continue in life odd-ribbed? Perhaps. But perhaps he deliberately created and used the specific bone that would regenerate itself, thus leaving no imperfections behind. One more key point on the science behind the rib. Bone marrow is one of the key sources for stem cells. These are cells that can convert into all types of cells in the human body, thus enabling the creation of a complete human being, i.e., Eve. And the rib cage is a notably prolific producer of these cells. Let's read verses 4 through 6 of Ezekiel 37 to see the instructions that were given to the prophet. Again he said to me, prophesy to these bones, and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of the Most High. Thus says the Most High Yah to these bones, surely I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. We can't have life without the breath. He says, I will put sinews on you and bring flesh upon you, cover you with skin and put breath in you, and you shall live. Then you shall know that I am the Most High. Now let's look at the order. Ezekiel started out looking at bones, very dry bones. So the sinews and flesh had to come upon them. After the bones were assembled, you had to have muscles and tissue coming together upon the bones. So at first there was the stirring of the bones, then the assembly of the bones. The bone came together, bone to bone. They knew where they belonged. Sinews and flesh had to come upon the bones, and then skin upon the tissues to cover the bones. So what's missing? The life-giving source. There was no breath in them. So Ezekiel was told to prophesy to the breath. This is a fulfillment of what the Most High had already declared in Ezekiel 36:27. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. He's talking to the house of Israel. So why did they die? They died because of a hardened heart. David says in Psalm 51:10-11, create in me a clean heart, O Yah, and renew a steadfast or right spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. This is certainly a prayer that we should all reflect on often. Our ancestors had a form of godliness. They worshiped Abba with their lips, but their hearts were far from him. And you're going to see that in this passage here in Ezekiel 36. Listen to what Yah said to the prophet. He said, "Moreover, the word of the Most High came to me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own ways and deeds. To me their way was like the uncleanness of a woman in her customary impurity. Therefore I poured out my fury on them for the blood they had shed on the land, and for their idols with which they had defiled it. So I scattered them among the nations, and they were dispersed throughout the countries. I judged them according to their ways and their deeds. When they came to the nations, wherever they went, they profaned my holy name. When they said of them, These are the people of the Most High, and yet they have gone out of his land." Are you understanding how damaging that statement is? We were supposed to be the example for the world, but the people, the nations, were saying, "These are the people of the Most High?" And they pointed to our ancestors and looked at their behavior and said, yet they're getting kicked out of the promised land. This was a disgrace. I get messages from some telling me how they struggle because they just can't see how a loving God would allow us to go through everything we went through. Then they list some of the atrocities we suffered as a result of slavery, as if they're saying something. The fact that they would even think that the Most High has been unjust in his judgment against us is an indication that they have no clue what our ancestors did. Yes, we had some loyal ancestors who stayed true to the ways of the Most High, but the majority of them did not. Can you wrap your mind around the fact that some of our ancestors were engaging in child sacrifice? What do you think Baal worship was? They were getting rid of the prophets who were trying to rebuke them. They didn't want to hear it. Our sin was great. So the fact that we have received grace and Yah is giving us another chance is a great testament to his mercy. You can't even imagine how it makes you look when you talk about having a hard time accepting that he's loving and kind when he allowed us to go through slavery. We deserved judgment. Be thankful that he didn't wipe us out completely. Be thankful for those ancestors who remained true and prayed for mercy. If you know I'm talking to you right now, I would encourage you to read the books of Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Jeremiah to get some understanding. Listen to verses 21 through 27 to find out why we were not totally wiped out. Listen to what the Most High says. I had concern for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations wherever they went. So he tells Ezekiel, say this to the house of Israel, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my holy name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. And I will sanctify my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned in their midst. And the nations shall know that I am the Most High, when I am hallowed in you before their eyes. Are you hearing this? He says, for I will take you from among the nations gather you out of all countries and bring you into your own land. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. Our behavior was an insult, family. We profaned his name. So our redemption will include the restoration of the honor of his name among men. They will witness how he is going to wash us and cleanse us and place the right spirit in us. Isn't this what David asked for? We needed a circumcised heart. So we need to be humble as we consider how great our sin was. Our forefathers began worshiping the gods of the people the Most High had given them the victory over. Just think about that. So the Gentiles need to know that our Father is just. If he's going to judge them for their wickedness, why would he let his people get away with doing the same thing? Is that being just? No. But now they are without excuse because they can look back and see how we were dealt with, and we're the children. We received chastening and the rod of correction because we are his children. The rod of correction served a purpose. So those of you going around feeling some kind of way because we were chastened, you better repent and be thankful that we have a covenant and his promises. We were chastened because of his love. As you can see, our Most High is amazing. Now let's go back to the vision. No longer is Ezekiel looking at a valley full of dry bones. He's now looking at a valley full of dead bodies. And initially he was told to prophesy to bones, but not this time. Let's read it from Ezekiel 37, 9 through 10. Also he said to me, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, Son of Man, and say to the breath, thus says the Most High Yah, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these slain, that they may live. Now, let's pause here because we need to have the correct understanding. It says, breathe on these slain. This is an indication that they were killed, not natural death. The bodies representing the house of Israel is what some might call a crime scene. This is what Ezekiel is looking at. They were slain. Let's take a look at that and come back to this. This is from Merriam-Webster. Slay, to kill violently, wantonly, or in great numbers, to strike down, to kill. Let's go back to the passage looking at verse 10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. What will be the end result when Israel is resurrected? We will stand up as an exceedingly great army. I want you to consider, we were still multiplying in the places where we were scattered. The scattering made us look like a minority, but when we come together, we will stand up as an exceedingly great army. So Ezekiel was looking at a lot of lifeless bodies that needed the breath, the spirit, the ruach. He had already prophesied to the dry bones and witnessed a supernatural event, but it was not enough. Ezekiel was told to prophesy to the breath, calling on the spirit to come into lifeless bodies. Prophesy to the breath. Where did the breath come from? Let's look at that. This is Revelation 11:11. Now after the 3.5 days, the breath of life from Yah entered them, and they stood on their feet, and great fear fell on those who saw them. This verse is talking about what happened after the 2 witnesses were killed. They were slain, but they were resurrected. Where did the breath come from? It came from the Father. This breath proceeds from the inside of him. Just as he gave Adam breath so that he could live, he also gave the dead bodies breath so that they could live. The difference is Adam was given new life, while the bones in Ezekiel were brought back to life. Resurrection. Don't miss that. So this breath that's being referenced is a spiritual force empowered with the abilities of the Creator moving in the winds, because natural wind don't wake up dead people. This breath is alive and has the ability to hear what Yah says and execute his command. He is telling the breath to come from the 4 winds, but there's only one breath. So the breath is in 4 locations. Some theologians believe that the 4 winds in this verse relates to another passage in Revelation 7 that mention 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth. Let's look at that. It says, after these things I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth. This is Revelation 7:1. Holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. So the 4 winds serve a purpose, and it can be for something good or bad based on the command that comes forth from the Father. You also see that there are angelic beings commissioned to carry out specific assignments, again, based on the command that is given. Now, what's interesting is what Messiah says in Mark 13:27. He will send his angels and gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from the farthest part of earth to the farthest part of heaven. Do you see how this is fitting together? 4 angels are stationed in the 4 corners of the earth, waiting on a command to fulfill Yah's will in the last days. And the breath that will give life to the dry bones is also in those locations. Stop and think about that. Who are we talking about here? Listen to this from Isaiah 43:1-6. But now thus says the Most High, who created you, O Jacob, and he who formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Listen to this. This is enough to make you want to run. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flame scorch you. For I am the Most High Yah, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba in your place, since you were precious in my sight. Family, are you hearing this? You have been honored, it says, and I have loved you. Therefore, I will give men for you and people for your life. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your descendants, listen, from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Family, do you see how this is coming together like pieces of a puzzle? Now think about when Messiah returns to judge the nations. What did he say? We have to look at that. This is coming from Matthew 25:31 through 39. He's speaking to the disciples. When the Son of Man, listen to how he refers to himself in that sentence. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and who's coming with him? All the holy angels. Then he will sit on the throne of his glory. He has a throne and he has glory. Listen, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Listen, don't miss this. Then the king will say, initially he says, Son of Man. Now he's telling you who he is. The king will say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Listen, the righteous will answer him, saying, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? Listen to his response. The king will answer and say to them, assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. The breath is in the places where the people were scattered. He says, I will be with you when you pass through the waters. This is so good. Let's keep going. Listen to what he says in Matthew 24:29 through 31. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from where? The four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now, after he prophesied and the breath of life entered them, they stood up. And listen to what the Most High says to Ezekiel. He says, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Again, this is talking about the nation of Israel being resurrected. This is not talking about all nations of the earth. Israel is being resurrected. Their hope was lost. They had been cut off. The nation is to be resurrected. Both houses are being resurrected. The two sticks will become one again. So how can we have folks saying that this already happened? Is this not enough proof for you to see that some of these religious leaders are lying when they say the Father is done with Israel and all believers are now the new Israel? It does not line up with Scripture. And that is why many of them stay out of the Old Testament. Let's continue with verse 12. Therefore, Prophesy and say to them, Thus says the Most High Yah, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up from your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. Then you shall know that I am the Most High, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up from your graves. I will put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I will place you in your own land. Then you shall know that I am the Most High, have spoken it and performed it, says the Most High. I ask, did this happen in 1948? Would you say the people who say they are us are a people who know the Most High? Not only that, he said the bones represent the whole house. There are 12 tribes. Judah is only one of them. This is proof that folks are liars and deceivers, to include Christian Zionists. You heard me. The Most High said, I will open your graves and cause you to come up from your graves. So what is he talking about when he says they will be brought up from their graves? Strong 7585 is the word used for grave. Sheol. It's the underworld or place to which people descend at death. Now let's see how it's defined when it's talking about Ephraim. This is Hosea 13:14. I will deliver this people from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. Where, O death, are your plagues? Where, O grave, is your destruction? As we see here in Zechariah 10:9, Israel being scattered is symbolic of sowing. And I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me where? In far countries. And they shall live with their children and turn again. What happened when we were sown among the people? We went into captivity, bondage. And this is why we are living in the far countries. But here's the promise. They shall live with their children and turn again. When you look at sow, the Blue Letter Bible has Zarah, sow, yielding, sower, bearing, conceive, seed. So to sow is to scatter seed. When you sow seed, what happens to that seed? It goes into the ground and it dies. The seed has to die. Then it can live. And you know what else the seed will have? A hull, a hard shell that serves as a protective covering. But we will get into that next time when we talk about threshing. Listen to this from Jeremiah 23:3. I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries, whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. Where were they? They were taken into captivity. And Joel 3 tells us that the day of the Lord will be a time of judgment for the nations that took them into captivity. But for some reason, some strange reason, religious leaders will skip right over that part. Take a look at this short clip from a video I did a few years ago about the day of the Lord. It's not what most Christians think. So Joel 3 is going to tell us the story. We're going to find out why this is happening. It says, For behold, in those days and at that time when I bring back the captives of Judah, something happened to his people. He's telling us what this is about. The captives of Judah and Jerusalem. I will also gather all nations. All nations. We know that hasn't happened yet, right? And bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment with them there. Why? On account of my people, my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered. He's telling you what this day of the Lord is all about. He's angry because something happened to his people. They were scattered among the nations. He goes on to say, they have also divided up my land. So we see two things happening. His people were taken and scattered among the nations, and then his land, the land of Israel, was divided. He says, they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy as payment for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Go and find another group of people other than so-called African Americans and other people of color who were sold into slavery around the world. Find another group of people who were sold for rum, alcohol, and then you can disprove that this is not talking about us. If you can find that the group of people that fit that description, leave it in the comment section so that we'll know if there's someone else that this can be attributed to. There is no one else. Let's keep going. Verse 4. Indeed, what have you to do with me? Now he begins naming nations. And remember, some of these nations no longer have the same name today. O Tyre and Sidon and all the coasts of Philistia, will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me swiftly and speedily, I will return your retaliation upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples. And we know that this happened, particularly after 770 AD, when during the destruction of Jerusalem, the Romans were carrying things out of the temple. It says, my prized possessions. Also, here's the second thing, the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem you have sold to the Greeks, that you may remove them far from their borders. Now, if you will do a study on this word Greeks, you will know that this word is often used for Gentiles. It was used for the word Gentiles in the ancient days. It says, behold, I will raise them out of the place to which you have sold them. So obviously this has not happened yet either. The people are still in the land where they were sold as slaves and will return your retaliation upon your own head. Listen to what he says. I will sell your sons and your daughter into the hand of the people of Judah. Could this be why we are not getting the correct interpretation of this prophecy? Because people know exactly who he's talking about, and he's specific here. He's very explicit in telling you what's going to happen. In other words, you will reap what you sow. What you have done to my people, this is now going to be done to you. So we will wrap up here with this passage from Isaiah 26:13-12. And it's talking about a song that will be sung in the land of Judah after the Most High saves his people from the hand of the enemy. It says, O Most High Yah, other lords beside thee have had dominion over us. But by thee only will we make mention of thy name. They are dead. They shall not live. They are deceased. They shall not rise. Therefore hast thou visited and destroyed them, and made all their memory to perish. Thou hast increased the nation, O Most High. Thou hast increased the nation. Thou art glorified. Thou hast removed it far unto all the ends of the earth. Most High, in trouble have they visited thee. They poured out a prayer when thy chastening was upon them, like as a woman with child that draweth near the time of her delivery, is in pain, and crieth out in her pangs. So have we been in thy sight, O Most High. We have been with child. We have been in pain. We have, as it were, brought forth wind. So they were with child, but they didn't bring forth anything. They brought forth wind. We have not wrought any deliverance in the earth, neither have the inhabitants of the world fallen. It says, thy dead men shall live. Together with my dead body shall they arise. This is the Most High responding. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust. For thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, the Most High cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. So why is he coming out of his holy place? To punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. Israel has had her whipping, and now it's time for the other nations to reap what they have sown. So the Most High is telling the people that they should awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust. So the people are singing now that they're back in their land. They are worshiping. They know that it was the power and might of the Most High that brought about their deliverance. Now they can bring forth. They know that he delivered them and raised up the nation of Israel with his mighty hand. So again, we will pick up here next time. I hope this message has been a blessing to you. Please remember to hit the like and share it. You're also welcome to subscribe if you have not already done so. Join me next time.